Question for the host. Am I interrupting the meditation, or is it time for me to begin? Okay.
Time for you to begin. I was going to ring a bell, but it all started to flow.
Okay, beautiful. All right. I have given a Dharma talk to you folks every day in my head since I was asked to do this. And at some point, I would love to be able to give them all, or at least get them written. What I've decided on is actually critical to our meditation, and I've decided on talking about hindrances to meditation. And the reason why I think that's so critical is because the hindrances to our meditation practice are the same hindrances that we experience in the living of our life, in all of the different ways that we do, the living of our life in relationship, the living of our life internally within our own mind and our own thoughts. So some may know the list. In Buddhism, there's a lot of lists, and I'll list them all to begin with, and then we'll talk about each one separately. So in the tradition, basically, they talk about sensual desire, big hindrance, ill will, restlessness, agitation, worry, and remorse is all one, sloth and torpor, skeptical, doubt. So there is the list. Now, if we take a moment and review any meditation that we've done, particularly even the last one that we've done together today, there's a good chance you might notice that there have been themes, different themes. Okay. So the first thing we want to be aware of is that we all experience these hindrances, and we can come to recognize that there's actually an orderly flow from one hindrance right into another hindrance. So the problem is not the content of what it is that's coming to mind or through the mind or through our body. It's not the content. The difficulty is what we do with the content. So I'm going to give an example. I'm still becoming accustomed to working with technology, and everything is fine until I actually start to do a meditation and I start to experience sensations in my body if I'm too close to the computer once I start meditating, and it's very disruptive. So the content of the hindrance that I was running into was related to my body and sensation. So we'll talk a little bit more about how that goes. So I'm going to use that as my example and what it is that we have to do. So the first thing is we need to be aware. We need to have introspective awareness. We have to have enough awareness to know that there is a hindrance arising, that something is arising to begin with. Introspective awareness. Or extrospective awareness, to be aware that there's something taking place in the environment that we are living in that's going to create enough disturbance that we might have a reaction to it. So it's not the disturbance, it's not the sound, it's not the smell, it's not the taste, it's not any of what is coming in through our senses that is a problem. What is the difficulty is not the content, it is our response, whether we're responding or whether we're just reacting in this chaining of events that take place internally or possibly externally. So we need to have enough introspective awareness and as well extrospective to be mindful of the hindrances as they are forming up in our interior or in our exterior before we get immersed in the content, before we get entangled in the content. So an example of my experience was, oh no, it's happening again. I can't sit this close to my computer. I can't sit anywhere in a room with a computer on when I'm trying to meditate. Oh, okay. So what I needed to do at that point was not get involved with that process. I needed to make a quick decision, as in you'll deal with this another time. Right now, what is my intention? What am I to be doing? And what is my object of attention? So that's what we need to sort of return to. Return. What is the object? Okay. So how does this play out in our meditation? So here we are, we're sitting, everything's good. We've done our beginning practices, our vows. We're sitting, we're dropping beautifully, pure awareness mind. And we drop. And we breathe. And everything is awesome. Until we get a pain someplace, or until we remember something that we needed to be doing, or until the thing that reminds us of a wound of some kind internally or bodily comes forward. So basically the first one, sensual desire. Whenever we talk about sensual desire, a lot of people think in terms of, extreme hedonistic playfulness or sexuality. What it's referring to is sensual desire is wanting something different to happen than what's happening. Wanting to see something that is better in appearance. Wanting to smell something that is a more comfortable, has a more comfortable scent to it. Wanting to hear something different than we're hearing. Wanting more, so wanting something different, wanting something other than what's happening right now. So when we're not satisfied with what's happening and we get carried away with this, we lose our meditation process, we lose our object, and we get tangled. We get tangled. See, I don't want this hair to be like poking up, right? So it's a distraction. So the practice is return. When we're not satisfied with what's happening, we lose the meditation process. It's hard work. We all know it can be hard work. We experience resistance, non-acceptance, we lose attention. So just take a moment and just see how sensual desire in this regard, wanting something more or better or different for the eye, the ear, the nose, the mouth, the touch or kinesthetic senses. So if we don't recognize that this is what's taking place, we get caught up in the content. Remember, it's not the content. We get caught up in the content. That's the problem. And the next thing you know, is we are sitting in ill will. So, lots of times we sit here and we go, well, I don't have ill will. I don't have hatred arising, So again, these are labels. These are just pointers to interior condition, internal states. So ill will and hatred arise as part of the whole process. We wanted something to happen. Nothing happened. We get frustrated. We get possibly angry, and we end up sort of digging deeper into the frustration. It involves our muscle tension. It involves how we speak to ourselves or to another. So this is how we get involved with the hindrance of ill will. We need to name it. What's happening? This frustration arises because, or as a result. We don't have to get involved with it. We just need to recognize it. What is it? Okay? Recognize a frustration. Recognize the tension that's arising. Recognize all of this. Because if we don't, the next hindrance is going to arise. And the next hindrance, remember, we wanted something to happen. Didn't happen. We got frustrated. And we started to act out internally or externally or muscularly, somehow just with muscle tension. And that will deliver us very nicely right into restlessness, worry, and remorse. So once we've lost our relaxation, or the correct amount of tone, at least, in our body, and we've been frustrated, we're going to start having more pain in the body, more distress in the mind. It's all leading, it's all building. So we start to get agitated. We can't sit still. We want to move. We want to distract from what's going on because we don't like what's going on. So what happens? Here are examples. We feel like this whole thing is not for me. Here I am sitting in a circle. Everybody else can meditate. Everybody else is sitting still. Nobody's moving. Everybody's sitting in absolute pure bliss, and I'm the one who is a total, absolute, inadequate meditator. This is not for me. All right. So that whole routine, you've heard it all. You've heard, all of you have had people say to you, "Oh, I've tried meditating. I can't do it. I can't do it." Well, that's the hindrance. If you think you can't do it and you don't do it, well, you're not going to meditate, right? So, there's other things. What am I doing here? I have important things to do. And then that's going to lead to, how do I get out of here? Right? Get me out of here. How do I get out? Right? We want to be someplace else. So it starts off, remember, we don't like what's happening, right? We get frustrated. Then we get restless. And then we start to worry about our capacity, attack ourselves, or possibly in our minds start attacking the system or the teacher or the something or another. So there we go. So now we've set ourselves up, we've built ourselves right into sloth and torpor. So lots of times we think sloth and torpor is about laziness. It is not about laziness. That's a whole other problem. Sloth and torpor is we've just worn ourselves out. We have just wanted something different, didn't happen, got frustrated, got tense, using up all of our energy, got restless, agitated, worried, etc. And now we're knocked out. We have no energy. That is what sloth and torpor is. So the mind then becomes dull. The mind is dull. We have lost our brilliance. We have lost the clarity. Remember, clear, deep, awakened heart, mind, clear light, awake. Right? So we've burrowed ourselves right in here. We've lost the energy we need to maintain this brilliance, this vividness, this wakefulness. And that starts to lead us toward doubt. And doubt starts to really take hold very, very deeply. And it manifests itself in many, many different ways. We hear about the rolling up the carpet phase in Vipassana or different meditations. That will come about earlier in this whole sequence of events, but it certainly comes about in the doubting phase. So again, this is more intensive than the restlessness part. We turn away from our attention. We assign blame to someone. There's something wrong with me. I'm not okay. I am not capable. My efforts are not effective. You know, we feel incapable, we feel stupid, we feel inadequate, or there's something wrong with the teaching. It's too complex. No, it's too simple. It's too hard to understand. Oh, it's too old. Oh, it's, you know, from thousands of years ago. This is today. You know, we've got all of this content, the story, as we usually call it, the narrative. There's something wrong with the teacher and how the teacher is teaching. And, you know, this just leads to an ongoing cyclic continuation, starting with something that's not happening that we want to have happen. Our eyes, ears, taste, touch, all of this stuff, sensual desire. We wanted something to happen. We did not accept at the very beginning that this is what's happening. We didn't acknowledge it. We might have tried to repress it, suppress it, whatever. It's going to take us all the way into this doubt. So when we get here, this is another talk. There are a number of things that we can do, but we need to be able to break this cycle by fully recognize it. You can take a break if you need to at this point. Do switch into a moving meditation, switch into something that will help refocus the mind, because at this point your mind is not focused. You have lost, we have lost, I have lost, whomever has lost the ability to remain concentrated. More salient, more obvious, it can become really subtle. But it happens. And now I'm going to just segue over just a little bit toward these hindrances we say are hindrances to meditation. Well, what are we trying to do? You know, what is it? The 10th, we need to, in the 10th Oxfording picture, somewhere around there, we need to return back to the marketplace. Why and how? You know, because we have stabilized our capacity to maintain our clarity, to maintain our stability in the meditative state. So we need to be able to take this understanding of these hindrances into our life and into our relationship. What's happening in our relationships? What about sensual desire? What about ill will? What about restlessness, worry, and remorse? What about exhaustion? What about doubt? And how do we turn it all around? How do we return to the original intent? And that's a whole other talk. So, yeah, I really hope you get some benefit from this. I certainly have. So I thank you for listening, being here. and go.
Thank you, Emyo.